Are you noticing your car insurance rate creep up even without tickets or claims? You're not alone. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry handles the legwork by comparing quotes side by side from over 50 top insurers so you can confidently hit buy. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Jerry even tracks rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Don't settle for higher rates. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/libsyn today. That's jerry.ai/libsyn.
Welcome back to Still a Part of Us. We have been chatting, I have been chatting with Morgan for a little while now about her son Fenn. And what a story. It felt so similar to ours and also so very different, and so grateful that she was able to come on and give a little bit of a snapshot into her life and to who her son was. So Morgan, thank you again for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you.
And as a way of just giving everybody a little bit of context, can you tell us a little bit about what happened to Finn? And then how long ago was he born at the time of this recording?
Yeah. So I was 37 weeks and 4 days when I found out that he didn't have a heartbeat. He was born the next day. And this happened in September of 2025, so about 8 months ago.
Yeah. So less than a year, everybody. Whenever moms come and
Yeah.
chat with us, less than a year, I'm always just amazed that you are feeling this great need to share your baby's story. So thank you again for coming on. I do like to jump in as kind of a first question of, can you tell us a little bit about how grief has looked for you? I know it has not been very long, but I do feel like that first bit of those first couple of months are a different beast than as time goes on. So
Yeah.
can you tell us how that has looked for you and for your family these last 8 months?
Yeah. In the very beginning, I was just in a lot of pain,
Yeah.
like physical pain. And it was hard to know if it was postpartum or
Right.
the pain of, losing my baby. But I just felt very much in pain existing.
Um,
And I also felt a really like strong resistance to the fact that I was going to have to like grieve him. I had multiple people, like friends and like therapists telling me like, this is a long process, like the grief will never go away. You are forever changed. And all of that, I like it would make me cry. It was just like, I don't want to grieve for the rest of my life. I don't want to always have like this sadness in
yeah.
me, no matter what joyful moment I'm experiencing. And like, I don't want this. And I also, knowing that there was no like timeline like that I could foresee where it would be gone. I couldn't say by the end of the year I'm going to feel better because I didn't know.
Yeah.
And it was overwhelming in the beginning, just like all of that, knowing that I was going to be so uncomfortable for so long. And so I had a lot of also like just chest pain.
Mhm.
I felt this heaviness. It felt like when I was just moving, existing, that I like felt like the weight of the world was just on my shoulders. I remember, I guess it was like 4 days after he had died, I went outside. And I had gone outside before then, but like I was by myself and I like sat on my back deck. And we have a good amount of property that's mostly forested. And I don't know, like, I feel like this is a gift from Finn, but for like 2 months, it felt like after he had died, every single day there was like a breeze and
Mm.
just the whole day a breeze. And so the like canopy of the trees just were constantly like
Oh.
swaying. And there was the noise of the swaying. I remember sitting out there and like for the first time, like noticing that and having like this tiny like ounce of feeling like relief. Like I remember
Mm.
sitting out there and being like, I can like breathe. Like I like felt like I was in pain, but like it felt like there was more space. I mean,
Yeah.
there really was, but you know what I mean? Like I could
Yeah.
feel it inside me. So I really, one of the first things I started doing all the time was going outside, and I would like lay on the ground or lay in a chair, and I would just look up and I'd watch the trees, and that's what I would do for like the whole entire time I was outside. And I felt, just I felt comfort in the ground and in the trees and in the wind. And I felt like very connected to him and just a little bit lighter in the very beginning. That was like one of the anchors for me to like that kept me from drowning.
Yeah.
Um,
You said this, and it was interesting when you said this in our earlier episode, and I would highly encourage everybody listening to that. But you talked about afterward you have your two kids, Tessa and Sully, that are older, and you needed to take care of them, but you also wanted so much to be alone. And I can relate to that. I remember just like, don't talk to me, don't touch me, don't nobody.
yeah,
But there's this need, obviously, to take care of your children as well, because we had our daughter
yeah,
that we were caring for and making sure that she was okay. How did you, and it sounds like some of this time outside was some of that solitude that you needed.
yeah,
But how did you balance, how have you been balancing this need to just be with him and then also being in life, right? Because life is still moving forward and kids need to be fed.
yeah,
And you need to be
yeah,
fed and all of those silly things
yeah,
like that. But so yeah, how are you navigating that? Because it really feels impossible in those early days.
yeah. Yeah, so in the very beginning, so I fortunately was able to take leave, and I ended up taking 10 weeks.
Oh,
And
great.
my husband was able to take 6 weeks. And
Oh, good.
so the first 6 weeks, I really like leaned on him. And so he, would take we actually homeschool Tessa, and so and
Mm-hmm.
but Sally goes to a preschool a couple of days a week. And so on the days that like she had some appointments, or like his days where he would take him to school and they would kind of hang out while he was in his program before picking him up, I would be alone. And so I like really just like that was my time that I was like, I'm not going anywhere. And I would kind of do my own thing, lay outside, stretch, like I had like a list of things that I would try and do to like care for myself.
Mm-hmm.
But my husband was really great about on the days when the kids, or when they were with me, I would still like prioritize just like the most intense self-care I've ever done in my
Mm.
life. I just really, it was like a priority. So I had these things that I was like, I have to do these things. And then I would be with them. And Ryan like really took care of us in terms of like chores, because I was also just like so tired. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
I, was laying around a lot too. And but I would like do things like swing my daughter in her swing, or like be outside with them while they're playing, but like not necessarily like playing with them, but just
Yeah.
like trying to be there. But it was hard because, like my son, he, wants to play with his animals and, play a game. And it felt so, it just took so much energy
Mm-hmm.
to like
Yeah.
play and pretend to be okay. Like just even like using my voice like felt hard sometimes.
Yeah.
And so it was a challenge. But then when Ryan went back to work, and I had to start taking Tessa to her like therapies, and I had to start taking Sully to school, and I was terrified. I was so scared to face people. Like, I
Mm.
hadn't seen these people
Yeah.
in the last time they saw me. I had this giant belly, and I knew everybody knew. I was like terrified about, I had encountered already before, like Ryan had gone to work, the fact that most people don't acknowledge it, even though they
Yeah.
know, like that was my experience. Like a lot of people don't just say anything. And that is painful in itself because it's just this huge life altering, profound loss has happened and everybody's ignoring it. So it, like having to get back in the real world in that way. I remember driving them the first time and like remembering the last time I drove them, like I had this big belly and this feels so strange.
Yeah.
It helped me like get back into like the groove of things and being able to do that first before going back to work, because there was like 4 weeks where I was kind of like just transitioning into like doing more of my mom role before adding on work. But I, in that time when Ryan went back to work, there was multiple times where I asked like my in-laws to come and help me. And
Yes.
because there were some days where I just couldn't, like I was so overcome with like tiredness and just like feeling the profound loss where it's like I couldn't function in a way, or I could function, but it wasn't healthy. Like I needed to lay down,
Yeah.
and so I tried really hard or Ryan would like take off work if necessary. And I went back to work, I guess 2 weeks early than I had to,
Yeah.
specifically so that I had more leave to be able to do that for my own job. And I had to do that like not often, but there's several times where I was just like, I'm so overwhelmed and nothing's actually happened except my son died. But like my normal life right now, nothing's happened, but I can't handle anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I would just like lay and watch, Netflix or watch something and just for like 8 hours. And then I would wake up the next day and I would feel better. And so I tried really hard to like respect that and leaned on people. And it's gotten a lot easier. For a long time, it was really hard because sometimes it's just like I want to be able to just focus on the fact that I'm sad for Fenn and think about Fenn. And but we've integrated him. Like I've tried really hard to. So like in the morning, I have his photo in our dining room and there's a couple candles. And so every morning when I'm by myself before everybody's woken up, I light candles for him and I like say a little blessing. And, at night after all the kids have gone to bed, I write in a journal to him. And I try to take daily walks and I'm by myself during those. And like my walks feel like this time with him.
Yeah.
And I always try and leave like a little F made out of sticks, like it's some part of my path. And it always like brings me joy when I like come across one that I've left before.
Yeah.
And yeah,
That's so cute. That's so
and
cute.
sometimes, yeah, and sometimes I see them like that I haven't left, and I'm like, oh, he like sent me a little F, and I one of the things that we started doing that this like ritual with the kids is like when we're and it's not just with them, but because I will do it when I'm on my walk too. But we have this little like wooden bowl that is by his picture, and when we're like hiking or in our yard or I'm on a walk, we like look for little treasures for Finn, and so it can be um, like little acorns or feathers or pine cones or stones or I get like a piece of bark that I think is beautiful and my son finds treasures. He'll be like, look at I found a treasure for Finn. And sometimes it's like a literal piece of gravel and I'll be like, okay. And we put it in his bowl.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, but it's been like it's so one, like there's just these like just so much beauty everywhere and like the most simple things that you could find and like actually looking for them, it's just like you see them when you're looking. And and then when the bowl fills up, it's like this collection of so much beauty and love. And the bowl fills up and what we do is on the 26th of the month, because that's the day that he
Yeah.
was born, we had planted a tree for him in our backyard. And so we placed all the items under his tree, and
Oh,
we start over. And it's like this practice of like impermanence and letting go and having trust that like we're gonna rebuild this bowl. And every time we do, like every time we find new beautiful things for him. And it's just, I don't know, like, because it's hard to like let those things go, because I thought about him when I found them,
yeah.
but yeah, it's just makes me feel like the abundance that exists in our lives. And yeah, it's
Oh,
that has been like really helpful too with, like Sully's like all in for that. And sometimes we'll be outside and he'll find some like something and I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna go put this by Finn's tree, and he like runs over there and puts it by his tree. And so I think like just finding ways to include him.
yeah.
Like sometimes we'll see something, and Sully will be like, that reminds me of Finn. And I'm just like, it does, why? And he's like, 'cause it's just so beautiful. And so I think, yeah, that's helped make it feel less like a separation and more like a whole family thing.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
Beautiful. I will I love that practice, like you said, a practice of impermanence, because things change so often, and we sometimes get shaken up by a big change, like a something that you're not expecting to happen. And I like this daily practice that you guys have. It's so beautiful. I think that's so special that you've included your family, and Sully is really into it.
Yeah.
Cute.
Yeah.
So cute.
Yeah. I
Um,
love it.
I also wanted to point out something that I feel like is hard for lost parents after a loss, or anybody that's grieving, going through something that is hard. And sometimes maybe it's our culture that doesn't lend for it, but we sometimes don't ask for help. And I liked that you would occasionally ask for help from your in-laws. Like, I really need to not do nothing. I need to do anything. I just need to sit on the couch
Yeah.
and not do anything. And the fact that they are willing to help, and that you were willing to ask, because that, I think it's twofold, right? There's being vulnerable
Yeah.
to ask and say, I need help. And then people being willing to help in the way that they can. And in this case was taking care of your kids while you just vegged, basically, right? Like, that's what you needed to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just want to point out how nice that is, to just acknowledge that sometimes we got to be vulnerable enough to ask for help, and
Yeah.
vocalize
It's
that.
hard.
It's so hard.
Yeah. It is so hard. And like after he died, so many people like supported us in their
Yeah.
own way. And I just remember like before, like having kind of this story in my head of us being kind of, like alone and not having,
Mhm.
that much support. And just like wow, like talk about a way to be proved wrong about
Yeah.
that. Like there's just this huge like bubble of like people surrounding us that love us and want to care for us. And I really like, I don't know how this came about, but like something that I just started, I felt this like openness. And I mean that if somebody felt like right, in the sense like I felt like they could hold me, and hold my grief and help me in
Oh,
that way, I just like let them in. And it would be where this person now I trust, and so then they may recommend this other thing or this book or this
yeah.
poetry, or and anything that came to me in that kind of way, I was like, okay, I'm gonna like
Yeah.
read this now, or I'm gonna go check this person out, or like and it was kind of like this web that I like
Mm.
formed of all of this stuff that just brought me comfort. And I'd never really read poetry before, but then all of a sudden I started reading it, and I was like, there would be these lines,
Oh.
and like it would it would help me. Like I could
Mhm.
feel myself like being held by these words. And then I would love more, and so I just felt like in that like way there was just so much abundance and like beauty and that I wasn't aware of before, or like I was closed off to before, that like really helped me to not like sit in my grief like it was moving. And yeah, I don't know.
That's
Uh
it's beautiful
it's been
that
a journey.
yeah, I just think that is so beautiful that you the way you phrased it as well is you felt somebody was right to hold on to you and for because it really is it's hard to like open up your heart to say this I am not good. I'm not doing well and to trust
Yeah.
somebody as much to be able to sit with that and that is vulnerable. It's really hard. And then just having this like you
Yeah.
said I just picture these this web of people supporting you. I just think that's beautiful. You should become a poet is all I can say. I was like, this is beautiful. I'm curious, is there
I'll be
any
a reader of poetry.
yeah, I was gonna say, is there any poetry that you would recommend people try out? Like I'm always open to if you have
Yeah.
resources you would like to share, we would love to hear any books or anything authors that you would recommend for anybody that's traversing this path.
Yeah, I have a little stack here that I want. I don't
Let's
know
hear
if
it. Let's
you
do it.
yeah, okay. I don't know if you wanna see the picture, but,
Yes, just definitely show.
to this is this is called it's a book of blessings, so "To Bless the Space Between Us" by John Donahue.
Uh,
Um, that was there's, like, some beautiful poems, blessings in there. "The Wild Edge of Sorrow"
yes.
by Frances Weller. I love this book so much, and I loved, like, anything where it felt like not only was grief, like, normalized, but it, like, made it where it's like this grief allows your soul to, like, deepen and, like, feel more, and there's so much beauty and love to that, and so, to me, like, that felt more, like, purposeful than
Yeah.
just, like, being like, "Ah," so, yeah, "The House of Belonging"
Mm.
by David White, that has poems in it as well. The Smell of Rain on Dust.
Oh,
This book is a little I don't wanna say woo-woo, but I love this book so much. It was so beautiful, but I mean, I say that in the sense of like, you it talks about, um, you know, our connection with like anything being that's alive
yeah.
and just going to the sea to like kind of be your village that we don't have any more of these villages to like hold us in our grief and like these rituals that to do by the sea and it just I don't know like to me like when I'm under trees I feel so held and so when I like read that about the liveliness of trees and like the souls of these plants and animals it
Yeah.
just felt I felt that um
Oh.
and then Consolations by David White so it's like each poem or like little essay it's like about
Mhm.
like a common word like gratitude or grief or yeah it this is really really good too but those are my favorites and then anything by like Mary Oliver
Oh,
obviously
yeah.
I don't know why I said obviously but I just love I
Y-
love her poems and yeah so those were kind of the things that brought me a lot of like comfort and it just felt like I just had to go through it and not like fight it, like not fight
Yeah.
this pain and grief and I also want to give it to Tessa because I with her I she has Down syndrome and we had a late diagnosis and we grieved, and like,
Yes.
this, our whole world flipped upside down. But I remember, soon after, like going through, like so upset, and everything felt so hard, and like I was walking through molasses, and like just,
Yeah.
but then it was just, she was like magic and like stardust and just like this blessing. And she made my life so much richer and beautiful. And like, just like, thank you, God, for this, this baby, this child. And I feel it was like the moment that I found out that Finn died, I feel like I had to go through Tessa's experience first. Because I just had this like trust that um I like had already experienced this world flipping, and I had already experienced the day that will come where like you look back and you're like, if this hadn't happened, my life wouldn't be this beautiful. And I just had like this belief that like I can't see it and I don't know what it will look like, but I know that one day I'm going to look back and think like, thank you, buddy. Like, your
Yeah.
beautiful life, however brief, like it's brought me here. And I just felt like I felt that so deeply. And so a lot of these like books kind of, I felt seen, with those like
Yeah.
poems and books, with that like belief, because I felt a little alone in that, like when I like started kind of going in the like lost world. Like I know that people don't want to think like it happens for a reason and like that kind of thing, but I just felt this deep trust in like the divine, and like the,
Yeah.
just, I don't know, like the path of my life. So yeah, it's been, I don't know. I had a friend tell me, she said like, I don't believe that the universe like did this to you. I believe that the universe did this for you. And when she said that at first, I was like, what?
Yeah, you're like,
But
"Oh,
now
man."
like
Yeah.
I can, but I can feel that now, like I feel him, like he feels just as real to me in the sense of
Hmm.
like my child, and like being taking up space. It's just not like tangible space. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I long for that. I
Yes.
long for it so much sometimes, but he's like so present that it also feels like, very much he's my third child, and it doesn't feel like weird thinking that or saying that, because it's just he's there.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
how else to describe that,
No,
but yeah.
yeah. You just have this desire for, because you're like, I brought this kid into the world. Like, I just want them to have all the things or be us. Yeah. You just want them to take up space. And um,
Yeah.
yeah. I was just thinking about my son and I was like, oh yeah, this is why we did this podcast, is because so he could take up space in a very funny way. But yeah, just that's the way we,
Yeah.
as a parent, this is, you try and figure out ways to honor your baby and celebrate them and have them part of your life. And it's hard sometimes when they're physically not here. So
Yeah. It is so, yeah. Sometimes I'm just like, I I know that Finn is everywhere. Like I believe that.
yeah.
And I'm like, but I like my human brain
Yeah.
wants to tangibly feel it, but
Yes.
then I know that like that's not possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just it's hard to accept. And that longing was like for his physicalness. It obviously like was very, very intense for a long time. It's like eased a little bit where it like comes and goes. Like I have some days where I'm just like, I just want,
Yeah.
to like have him laying on my chest. And I think it's like gets not strange, but it's like he would be almost 8 months old now. And so it's hard because my brain still thinks of him as like in his little newborn body. And so, and he's also like become less of that and more like of his name. Like I don't know, when I see F or, his name in some version, it's just like, that's what I like see more when I like imagine him, versus like his little body
Yeah.
and his little face. But and I see him obviously in his sister, other, or more maybe I like sense his absence, um,
Yeah.
when we're like all together. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's hard. Morgan, I am wondering about how you and your husband have grieved differently, or how you've and how you've supported each other in your grief. How has that looked for you as a couple, and also separately as kind of traversing this very similar path?
Yeah. So, right when he died, I like started researching like grief counselors
Yeah.
and because I was like, we're not being taken under by this. I was
Good.
like very like, I just so I like found this like grief center and ended up like doing all of his paperwork and I like got him set up with a grief counselor. I like took care of myself finding people. And he, like I was very like visibly not okay. And we would talk together, but like outwardly when he was around family and that kind of thing, he was very much seemed himself.
Yeah.
Versus I like didn't say a word to anybody. And
Yeah.
I just am like um not myself. And uh, and I think like just I could see too this like agony that he experienced with just wanting to make me better, like
Yeah.
he couldn't help me. And I think that was really hard for him. But, you know, I I do a lot of things to like try and process and incorporate stuff and he just does things differently. So
Yeah.
but he plays guitar. He wrote a song that he, makes him think of Fenn, and every time he plays it, like, we all know that he's playing and we're all thinking about Fenn. And
Mm.
he was the one, like, we knew we wanted to get a tree, and I wasn't like really, like I didn't need to have it right away, but it was like this urgency in him. Like, so we went out like a week after Finn died and found a tree and
Oh,
planted it that day. And I know for him, it was just like he needed
yes.
to get this tree in the ground. And then we both did a support group. It was like I don't know how many weeks it was. It was like 8 weeks. This support group at that grief center
Hmm.
for uh, you know, perinatal loss, and infant loss. And so it was a really small group that met every week. And it was really nice going together. Like it was, we get dinner before and just being there together and kind of hearing what he has to say and him hearing me. And I think like that kind of helped be able to like create that space for
Yeah.
us, just to be together. So, and we're still like going to therapy and all those things. But yeah, I think I'm definitely like someone who is like, I had this fear of like grief getting stuck in me. So I was like doing all this like shaking and dancing, like, like anything,
This is
like
great.
literally, like,
Yeah.
yeah. And I would be like, Ryan, you should start shaking your body for like 5 minutes. And he's just like, no. um yeah. um but yeah, so, and I think just like being okay with like being sad, like I think like it's like people don't want to be sad, right? But I
Yeah.
think it's like I've gotten used to being sad, like it
Yeah.
being part of me now, and it like doesn't feel like such a bad thing anymore.
Yeah.
And I remember like hearing or like listening to an audiobook or something about like stillbirth and infant loss. And this one story, this woman talking about how like grief is like her companion now and she like welcomes it. And it's like this it feels like the presence of her baby. And
Yeah.
I feel that now. Like, I'm not like, ugh, get out of me. Like, it's like I feel this expansion, like, to
Mhm.
hold it. And so it just doesn't, it's like I'm okay. Like, I'm okay that I'm always gonna be, like, a little melancholy. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, because it's like this, it's all this, it's this constant reminder, like, it's never gonna, that experience won't ever be gone, or it won't ever, like, not, it won't ever be seared into my brain. But, yeah, but I'm, like, accepting of it and, like, used to it. And so, I think, like, him and I, like, also just having to get used to that, sadness. And yeah, so I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes. Yes, you did. You guys are so proactive. That's great that you were like, "Okay, I'm gonna help you because you're gonna struggle with this." And
Yeah.
but I also think that it is so helpful to do things kind of together, like you mentioned, doing this grief support group, and then also doing things kind of separately too, because we just all have different types of grief, whether you're male, female. I know that there's people talk about those differences, but we just are also different people, and so we need to mourn different ways, grieve different ways, have the
Yeah.
grief move in you. um,
Yeah.
and move around you and move out of you, and however that looks. But yeah,
Yeah.
so that I think that is super helpful, especially as a couple who's trying to like keep it together. Like you wanted, I like our we always we're striving to keep our marriage healthy and strong and everything. And so yeah, I think making those steps is really important if you have the resources and the time and everything
Yeah.
to do that. So
Yeah.
um
Mhm.
I know you have mentioned this before, but were there I just want to make sure you get a chance to shout out anybody, but anybody that like really stepped up that you're like, gosh, that was really super helpful. Like looking back on it, that yeah, anything they said or anything that they did that was really helpful, just so that people can put it in their playbook if they're supporting somebody that's going through this.
Yeah, I had 2 friends who, like, I talked to a lot, about everything, that I was going through. And I think just, like, being feel like, I could feel that they were feeling my sadness, and they never, they just, like, gave me the space to be, to grieve. And just, like, "I know this sucks." Like, "This is the worst thing ever."
Yeah,
And just, like, constantly, like, being available. And I know, like, that's hard because everyone has their life,
yeah,
but it just felt like I could, like, I wasn't alone. Even if I, like, wanted to be in a room by myself, like, I, like, had these people to lean on. And
hmm.
my one friend, she works at a, inpatient, like, mental health,
Oh,
like, section of a hospital. And she's
yeah.
a occupational therapist. And so she does, like, these support groups. She's the one who told me to start shaking, and also to start going to acupuncture. I started doing that, like,
Oh,
right after he died. I've been going weekly since,
yeah,
he died, and I think that's been helpful.
yeah.
Um, but I remember, she just, like, was so steadfast in I wasn't going to die. Like, she just kept
Yes.
reminding me that. And then she kept reminding me that, like, you know, like, one day, I'm gonna be able to, like, watch the sunrise and, like, thank Finn, like,
Mm.
thank you, buddy. Like, thank you for being you and being in my life. And she just really said things that I think, like, she knew that, like, would be profound and help me, but I wouldn't necessarily say them to everybody.
Yeah.
She's the one who said the thing about like, for me versus,
Yes.
to me.
Yeah.
Um, and and yeah, I don't know, just this, like, belief in Finn and, like, our story, and that he was exactly who he was meant to be. And it was nice to, like, have somebody kind of be this on that same, like, the same, like, understanding that I had. I didn't feel so alone because I not everybody feels that way. Like even
Yeah.
Ryan doesn't necessarily feel the same in terms of like, Finn's purpose in life.
Yeah.
And then, my other friend, her daughter was born 6 weeks before Finn died, and we were pregnant together the whole time. Her little girl's name is Gwen. And,
Oh,
we always like say that they're buddies, like Gwen and
oh,
Finn.
that's so
And,
cute.
yeah, and it's so, and like every time I see her, I see a picture of her, it's like I am reminded of Fenn, but like in the most like beautiful, kind of way. And yeah, they just were both present. And I think that was like so nice. I say that I like really opened up to people, but I also like was really private to some people, like,
Mhm.
to like even
Yeah.
my family, like I felt really closed off. And I think it's just, I like really went with my intuition and like who I felt safe with at the time, to like open up to. I remember the first like appointment I had with my acupuncturist, who's now like one of my friends. And
Mhm.
she told me, like, the first thing she said to me was, she was like, "I'm going to help you." And I just remember like, just like feeling like held, and just, yeah, that I've never really like felt that before. Just like precious and like, like taken care of, and not just like by other people, but like also by myself, and
Yeah.
I always like, for a while, like I had a picture of me pregnant with Finn next to Finn's picture, and I would light a candle for like my Finn's mom. Like I just felt this like
Hmm.
deep desire to care for her and honor her. And I felt like profound sadness for, like, obviously I haven't experienced it, but I felt this sadness for this version
Yes.
of me that lived through that. And just whenever like I am having a hard time or like being hard on myself, I like have this thing in my head where I'm like, you need to be kind to Finn's mom. And it like immediately like brings me back to
Yeah.
like self-compassion. And because like nobody's gonna mess with Finn's mom, not even me. um
Oh, that's
yeah.
so good. That's so
um
good.
yeah.
I love that so much.
But
And then Morgan, on kind of the flip side, were there any things that you would maybe recommend, maybe staying away from, some sayings or anything that maybe rubbed you the wrong way? Like, I know that people have good intentions, and but I do like to ask this question just
yeah.
because there are some phrases that just don't hit the right way right after you've had a loss. So, just curious if there's any things that
Yeah.
you're like, oh, maybe stay away from that.
Yeah, I my own like journey to finding a therapist, I ended up like going through a couple.
Hmm.
And I like this I was trying to see someone right away because I was like, I'm messed up.
Yeah.
Like I like don't need to be alone for too long.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Mhm.
I had like gone through this like perinatal postpartum like therapy like group, but it wasn't like necessarily local. And I don't know, like my midwife had recommended it, which later on I did tell her like this was not a good recommendation.
Oh,
And they the it was like it was very, I don't even know how the words for it. I think because it was just this like larger organization. I was matched with somebody, and the first like appointment we had, Finn had died like a week ago. And she was just like, very smiley and like asking me these questions, had me like answer like the postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety things. And I'm like, well, 2 weeks ago he was alive. Like, I don't know how to answer these questions, And
yeah.
um, I like the whole time my body, like I felt like it was screaming, hang up, And of course my like people pleasing, I like didn't, I just like endured it. Later I emailed and was like, I want to get out of this situation.
Yeah.
So anyways, I think just like, I don't know, like that was something that really rubbed me the wrong way. Like she just was so smiley and like pleasant. And just like, so why are you here? Like, which I had filled out all this paperwork, and
Yes.
like, just I felt so unsafe. And so you know, that was not a good situation. And I think just, I try to put myself in people's shoes, and I try to think like, if I was somebody who hadn't experienced this, would I feel comfortable like saying something to them, or would I be somebody who acted like,
Yeah.
nothing happened, because it's so sad and like uncomfortable. And maybe I would be someone who would have ignored it, but I'm not anymore. But experiencing that, so hard, like going
Yes.
into these spaces and not having him or his loss acknowledged.
Yes.
And just like, I remember someone telling me, like, just saying the simple words of like, I am so deeply sorry. And I
Yeah.
like I felt that, like it was so simple, but it meant something to me versus like
Yes.
people just acting like, or just saying like, how are you doing? Like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Like, I
It's a
guess,
loaded
like,
question, everybody.
I'm alive.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, my son died 6 weeks ago, and, I'm really uncomfortable in my clothes and being out in public right now.
Is that what you wanted to hear?
Um, like, I just like, this is, and even like, family, I think everybody is just trying to like protect us and like didn't really know what to do. Like, I just I want him and wanted him included.
Yeah.
And I think like people had a hard time with knowing, to do that. And like, even like, when if someone sent a Christmas card and like if they had each individual person's name like in it,
Yes.
I want them to include Finn.
Yep.
And I understand, like, if you have a grandma who died, like, you probably aren't signing her name on the card, but it's just different,
Yeah.
like,
It is.
this is my child, and,
Mhm.
I want to include them in whatever, like, way I can. So I think, like, I was very, very, very sensitive, the first, like, few months to, like, all of that, and just really feeling like he wasn't acknowledged.
Yeah.
And my close friends, obviously, like, we talk about them all the time, like they'll send me sunset photos like, hey Fenn, like they like,
Yeah.
and I love that. Like, I want you to, if something reminds you of him, or you have a dream of him, or like my sister-in-law, she was like, told me about the wind, like these wind chimes she has that are heavy and like hardly ever make noise. And she was out there and they like just started going crazy. And she was like, I felt like he was saying hi. And like,
Oh.
I love when people do that,
Yeah.
like, tell me about him. Tell me like this bird came and like flitted near you. And you're like, is that Finn? Like, cause I'm gonna be like, yeah, but I just, like, I just want him, to be included. And I think that was just something that I really struggled with,
Yeah.
and I know it's been 8 months, and like it feels like forever. Like 8 months feels forever, but it's also not. And like, even now, like sometimes, like with work, for example, it feels unbearable sometimes, like to be in meetings and just have to be acting like
Normal.
everything's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just doesn't, it feels impossible. And I can see why, like, like something like this profound loss can just start like this catalyst for all of this change, because it's like you are different. And like when you go back to things where you're having to step into a role that like you're no longer you, like that version of you, it just doesn't fit anymore,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
just, it's really that, it's been hard. It's been hard being in spaces and people acting like, nothing's wrong when, I'm like, my heart got ripped open wide open. Like, don't you guys sense this?
Yes.
Um,
I know it
yeah,
feels so unfair to be like
yeah,
something devastatingly catastrophic happened to me, and like I am very different and I'm not right. And everybody's like, la la la, just going throughout their day. And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, never mind. Yeah, it's so bizarre. Like grief is
Yeah.
so bizarre in
Yeah.
space. So,
Yeah.
um, Morgan, this has been a really amazing conversation. You have shared some really beautiful things and some I just can't I just am so grateful for your friends that you have because you've just talked about how much they cared for you and how they hold space for you and how they hold you with such care. And I wish that for every lost mom that comes through here. And I don't know if that always
Yeah.
happens, but maybe just seeking people out that you feel safe with and that you feel like you can have your heart
Yeah.
open to them. I just good shout out to your friends. Like I was like, that's so awesome
Yeah.
that they are who they are. So, but
Yeah.
Morgan, thank you so much for speaking on Fenn and giving us some your perspective because it has been so helpful. It's been profoundly helpful for me to see uh, that I could be viewing grief a little differently too. so I thank you so much for your time today and for your words of wisdom.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, yes, of course.
Tired of your car insurance rate going up, even with a clean driving record? You're not alone. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry compares rates side by side from over 50 top insurers and helps you switch with ease. Jerry even tracks market rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Switch with confidence. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/Libsyn today. That's JERRY.ai/LIBSYN.